Vexium Swift is a furry content creator who mostly makes furry struggles videos. However, he also produces adult videos for the OnlyFans platform, which he has gained notable notoriety for, having 100,000 followers on Twitter. This is not someone that can just be ignored. He has a lot of relevancy, and with that inherently comes a large amount of, quote, power, and Vexium Swift is more than willing and does use this power and influence for his own personal gain. My original video covering Vexium Swift is still up. Please watch it, because that has more than enough to prove how disgusting of a human being Vex is, including that he likes feral, he manipulates and grooms people that are somehow beneath him, that he can use his power and influence over to get them to do his bidding, as well as a lot of disgusting stuff Vex has said on recording himself, and overall just covers most of the serious accusations against Vexium Swift, and frankly, with the amount of evidence there is to them, they're not really just accusations. But before we go forward with the video, let's give a quick life update to Vexium. Vexium Swift, since the previous video, allegedly scammed children out of a lot of money, which we'll get into shortly. Had his wife cheat on him, then leave him, forcing him to move back in with his father at 30 or 31, where he allegedly made OnlyFans videos of himself alone in his father's living room. Then he moved in with another OnlyFans model in a relationship, while this other OnlyFans model has a boyfriend. And, Vexium Feral update, he was caught following another feral creator on Twitter. Well, with that being said, let's get on to the actual video. To start out the video, we have an interview that I'm going to be using a couple of points of. Firstly is the main point of the interview, and that was that Vexium was sent a computer with the expectation, allegedly, for Vexium to send a graphics card to another individual and then just keep the rest of the computer. Vexium claims it was sent to Vexium as a gift with no strings attached.
It was always agreed upon to be a gift to my...
The individuals that sent Vexium the PC, as well as the individual that was intended to receive the graphics card, all claim that there was an understanding that Vexium would take a graphics card out of a computer Vexium already had that didn't work, put it in that computer, and then send the graphics card from the computer that was sent to Vexium to this individual.
I would have just accepted the bare bones and have the graphics card, and I would have put the 2060 from my dad's old rig in current rig.
It really does seem most likely that there was this agreement and Vexium just didn't want to hold up his end of the bargain. Now, later in this same interview, Vexium Swift attempts to say, hey, let's stop being friends. If you don't talk about me, I won't talk about you.
Well, like I said before, if you don't want to be friends, I'll keep your name out of my mouth and you'll do the same, right?
So, you'll stop me on my socials. That's why I'm here. Because you said that you're going to do that about a lot of people, and then you're just going to continue to follow them. Which, I've caught up with you many times, which you should remember because we almost had a thing about that. Right?
For everything I've been through, my trust issues, okay, you've been there firsthand to see what these people do.
Yeah,
Everyone looks over their shoulder. It's literally just... Oh, I didn't? There's folders.
Folders? Why do you have all that? Why not? Oh, goodness gracious. I was going to post something on Twitter.
I've been through the shit I've been through, and I'm not...
Speaking of ex-friends of Vexium, he decides to stalk and follow.
Didn't you dox Fresco?
Fresco's a piece of shit, and if he did get doxxed, I wouldn't fucking care. I want that fucker dead on the streets. I'm sorry.
Anyway.
Vexium has previously associated with people such as Sappho's ex-partner and a lot of other people that I don't really have as much, if any, information on, really. Mainly because, again, the only sources are Vexium Swift, and again, Vexium deleted a lot of their tweets. There's not very much information out there on these people, and what I can gather isn't enough to get a full story. But Fresco is a funny exception to this, because Vexium Swift openly and proudly talked about how shitty of a person Fresco was.
I'd dox him, but I'd send that information to the fucking police. And he also makes rape. He also admitted to making rape and pedo jokes, and also made a joke saying that There's going to be kids sitting next to him. He's going to have to control himself and shit.
After almost definitely telling Fresco a line, something along the lines of this.
Well, like I said before, like, if you don't want to be friends, I'll keep your name out of my mouth, and you'll do the same, right?
I say this because I can personally confirm that Vexium Swift has said this to every single member of his immediate previous 2 friend groups that he's just kind of burned. He says this to everyone he breaks off with. And as I will show shortly, this is almost never true because he continues to talk about these individuals and smear them and shit talk them, as well as continuing to stalk them on any social media they might have to make sure they're not saying anything about the big Vexium Swift.
Who are we talking about?
Fresco.
And no, he never shared. Fire just asked if you doxed Fresco. No, you didn't. You only had his like info, and he only so that you could make a police report.
Vexium Swift never filed any sort of report against Fresco legally or officially. When me and Fire asked for Fresco's information, which Vexium bragged about having to be able to file reports through Interpol or through the whatever channels might be, Vexium utterly just told us that he'd think about it and never provided any information with us. And that's something funny about Vexium. He associates with a lot of scumbags and then refuses to do anything against them unless they do something against Vexium Swift personally, which we'll get onto shortly.
Which I still think you should.
I reverse password searched his alt account, which I knew it was him because of the way he spoke. I do have the power to get his job terminated because he committed so many crimes against me.
Vexium repeatedly makes this claim and has said it privately, unfortunately lost the time, that he can just, I'll call up his work if he ever says anything about me again. He says that, and he isn't saying it in a, I will report him way, he's saying it in a, if he fucks with me, I'll ruin his life type of way. And he does this with a lot of people that have done questionable stuff. A great example is another alleged pedo Vexium Swift was, by his own allege, previously friends with.
My friend, who I trusted, who I was going to meet up with in London because they weren't that far from me, groomed a 15-year-old behind my back. It absolutely fucking... there was no conversation to be had. I made a post about it. They were gone. I gave their docs away. I doxed them, okay? Because that is a fucking pedophile. That is a fucking pedophile.
As a wise man once said, birds of a feather often flock together.
And you know what's crazy? My friend visited them in hospital. When they were rushed to hospital, my friend threatened them in real life and said, if you ever come back to this fandom and Vex finds you, he is going to come and visit you in Wembley, okay? Visit your mum and dad's restaurant, book a table, and have a fucking conversation.
Allegedly, according to Vexium and Blazonot, he is a sexual predator, and they are doing nothing about it, instead opting to hold this as blackmail so he doesn't come back to the furry community, which I think is very, very questionable, because from how Vexium made it sound, there's no police report, nothing like that. Now, while there totally could be, the fact that Vexium is threatening to tell this person's parents about what he did to that alleged child, it would suggest to me that this isn't a legal situation, because if it was a legal situation, almost definitely the parents would know. I mean, I feel like my parents would know if I got incarcerated for or was being investigated for that sort of stuff. And it really feels to me like this is something that is known about by Vexium's friend group, is not a legal thing, and Vexium has not and will never report this to the police because he has this ability to hold it over them. Later, on another interview, Vexium decides to say some straight up fucking Homelander shit against someone that apparently used to be a friend or perhaps threatened him.
I mean, if you think it's weird, then report Vex to the police. I don't know what to tell you.
Go for it.
It's not a crime. It's just fucking weird.
The last person who was called Brad Does Banter, who thought he was a big man, I said, go for it. I said, you want to threaten me at a convention? We'll go down that route.
I never threatened you. I
said, but after the police are done with what they're doing, I will sue you for everything you owe, every single pizza box in your apartment. I will ruin your life.
But it's clear, because, like, this is delusional. Vexium Swift cannot afford any sort of lawsuit. I mean, after his wife divorced him, he had to move in with his own father. Vexium Swift is not out here fucking going to court, and it's very clear that he's saying these types of things because that's what he wants the reality to be, like he's some big, scary bad man, but he's really not. That's why he talks so fancifully about him harassing his ex-friends, that while yes, they did do bad things, the actual reason that he is doing anything is because they've wronged him in some way. Again, he's not doing this because of the bad things he's done, as shown by him not going to the police with the facts of what these people have done. He just does it when they do something against him, and that's why he's doing it. Now, the next point I'm going to make is something that I think is very interesting. Vexium will say something like this.
I just want peace. I generally just want to make my videos. I move on, okay?
Immediately after saying some shit like this.
I feel like I can't be friends with someone unless I can ruin them if they ever tried to ruin me.
Vexium is a very narcissistic, manipulative individual that is more than happy to use his power and influence and anything he might have to ruin and destroy people he simply doesn't like. And while this might apply to pedos, remember, it's not because they're pedos. It's simply because they came back to the fandom, as I said in the previous example, or they talked about Vexium. He's never outing them and doing anything like that because of what they've done. Vex is doing it because of what they've done to him, and using the fucked up shit that they have done as a basis to justify why Vex is allowed to do the things he is doing to these people.
I just had a lightning bulb emoji moment. Who brought up me doxing Fresco or something? You know, Fresco told me where his ex's nan lives, all because he was owed money, right?
Once again, Vexium will never call these people out for what they've done just to do it. He always has to have an ulterior motive to doing so because, well, why would I talk about a scumbag that I know that is a content creator that is respected and has fans and like people look up to and like support? Why would I out them and call them out when I could use that as leverage to get them to not call me out for the scummy shit I'm doing? Keep in mind, none of this would have been made public if Fire didn't call out Vexium, and Vexium in some way thought that bringing this up about like, oh, I might be bad, but these other people are also bad. None of this would have been made public or made in any way publicly known by Vexium or anyone for that matter.
I don't usually wish death on anyone, even if they're like a complete piece of shit, but there are exceptions.
Yeah.
Fresco is easily one of those exceptions.
Yeah, especially when you brag about leaking a 16-year-old's porn.
Now, little known Jerry lore, young Jerry, a 17-year-old Jerry, was a little bit of a fan of Vexium, to the point of where I had joined his community. Now, again, I didn't really log anything, so I literally have nothing from this time. Like, I genuinely don't have anything. I can prove that at the time I was around Vexium by this one DM with Reaver, who is still to this day a Vexium friend. But besides this, I don't think I have any proof that I was even there. But I was there, I do remember, call this testimony, whatever. But I do know for a fact, Vexium and his at-the-time friend, Fresco, this was like 2 years ago, openly joked about this. This is not something Vexium uncovered. This is not something Vexium was uncomfortable with. This was posted in the side VC chat. I saw this like 2 years ago when it was actually going down. Vexium didn't have a problem with it then. He only starts having, calling it out as an issue when it can kind of get him off the hook for something. In this case, it was harassing Fresco.
Yeah, you remember the whole leaking Korg's porn? Everyone thought Vex did it. Nope, that was Fresco.
The only reason I thought Lab should put that in the video is because, remember, Korg slandered me as a pedo, right?
Remember, at this time, Korgs was either 16 or barely 17. So again, this 30-year-old man beefing with literal children over accusations that are just like there's no reason for Vexium to be getting so personally directly involved in this. All Vexium would have had to do to debunk all this was release a public statement denying it if it wasn't true, and move on. The issue is twofold. Firstly, a lot of what people criticize Vex for is genuine shit that he's done on record. And the second issue is that Vexium has a massive ego and he can't handle someone having an opinion of him that's terrible, that he's some disgusting person, even if that might be true, and having that publicly and having that just stand. And Vexium needs to ruin anyone that would make the public statement that he's a bad person.
I wanted to prove that Korgs was a hypocrite, and I was the only one in that group chat that said, guys, why are we censoring the adults' names that are in those logs? And you know what? It caused so much tension. And I never understood until Fresco screwed me over for the last time when he slithered away and didn't promote Lab's video and then lied in their little statement that got 2 likes.
One thing Vexium is amazing with is every single person that calls him out, he seems to have some sort of ability to ruin their reputation. And that stood completely true until it was, well, frankly, me and Fire. And we were essentially unknowns to Vexium. Vexium didn't have anything he could shift the blame to. And if you'll notice in these interviews, he's never responding to the allegations against him. Instead, he's calling out someone else in response. Now, in this next part, Vexium Swift confirms by accident that he stores people's IDs. He doesn't delete them.
That's a really bad idea because all these 3,000 IDs that I've got, that means nothing. If I open up my server, then me doing my quality checks and stuff, even if people submit a fake ID, at the end of the day, they've lied to me twice.
I don't care about your guys' servers.
The difference
Plus,
is,
why do you have
this is
all
what
the
I
IDs
listen.
still? You're supposed to delete them.
Now, when you have a Discord server that has IDs for ID verification, you're supposed to get them, verify them, then delete them. And given Vexium Swift's history of like doxing and harassing people that he determines has wronged him, the fact that he's holding on to these IDs, the 3,000 IDs he claims in mind, this was about like half a year ago, probably more. It really is a scary idea if you in any way decide to slight him. He might just fully drop your docs. And, you know, it really is a fucked up thing that, I mean, again, Vexium is the exact type of person to threaten and hold your docs over your head to force you to do shit. And I just honestly hate the fact that he is storing everyone's IDs. Like, that's such a creepy, weird thing to do.
You called me a zoo for blocking you on my porn account. I blocked you because I don't feel comfortable with people like you stalking me.
For blocking me. I called
Never
you a zoo.
be in the zoo file. Never
for
be in the
liking-
zoo file accusations.
Yes. Did I lie about the fact that he liked 2 posts on a bestiality content creator's fucking
That doesn't make
Twitter?
someone a zoo file.
It
That
Doesn't make
doesn't-
someone a zoo file. It was a black woman, okay? Black woman, yeah, on a video. That was it. There was no dog getting fucked.
There was a single caption that said, "I purchased a dog dildo, but it didn't feel like the real thing." And to clarify, Vexium liked 2 posts from the same creator in a short period of time, meaning that he clicked through this person's profile to get it. This didn't just show up on his timeline.
All right? None of that.
It was
And their
a
account changed. They had
verification video.
they had
It's just a verification
Okay.
video.
Okay, verification can mean anything. Verification for a parking ticket? Okay? It can mean anything.
The verification video being referred to is the verification video to verify this person is the actual owner of the Twitter account, which Vexium shows knowledge of later, explaining why his wife had to make a verification post, because there's a lot of, when it comes to OnlyFans models, apparently, people will just pretend to be you. So having that post that says, oh, this Twitter account is real, and then having it written on the paper, that is needed. Vexium explained this, and he clearly understands what this is, and this is just a childish tangent that Vex thinks he has a point on, but he really just doesn't.
Verification that they're even a real
No,
account?
you like
If you actually knew the porn
fuck-
industry,
no, no,
shut up.
the
If you
fucking-
actually
The
knew
fucking post
anything
said,
and made any money in the porn
purchased a dog
industry, you'd know
dildo,
what
but
verification
it really doesn't feel like the real thing. You liked that post.
Do you really think I have time to read a caption?
Yes, it takes 2 fucking seconds, man.
It does not take 2 seconds to read a caption.
Now, while it may take Blazing about a minute to read a single caption, the average human being can read a caption in about 2 seconds. So, yes, it does take about 2 seconds.
And then I get accused by someone who, for whatever reason, went through the likes on that zoophilia tweet. I wonder why they did that. I wonder how they found it when we weren't even mutuals.
Vexium Swift uses shifting the blame to make himself look innocent. You know, this is something Vexium does a lot. Just because someone else that is calling you out is guilty doesn't make you innocent, Vexium. That just means the person that calls you out is guilty of something. It in no way makes you any more innocent or any more of a good person for calling them out.
She probably, if anyone, she
Yeah,
should be
why
talking about
is
the fact
she? So she
she
doesn't
probably
call out
jacked
anyone
off
else.
to it.
She calls out. I don't want to say that. You know, I'll find out anyway.
Vexium, what do you mean by that? I'll find out anyway. That is the weirdest shit. That is one of the things, like, Vexium's general weirdness. You just can't put a finger on it, but, like, what the fuck does that mean? That is such a weird thing to say.
But, like, it's funny how they go for the likes and only call me out, because I make YouTube videos. If I had 5 followers, there would be no posts. It's all clout. I'm sorry, but it's clout.
Yes, because you are a public person. You are a well-known, well-respected individual that people look up to. And when it turns out you're liking bestiality creators posting about that type of shit, yeah, it's like, whoa, what the fuck? This guy that all of my friends watch is into that shit? That's gross. And it makes, you know, it's more relevant than a random person doing it, mainly because you are a public person. Like, people know your name, and it makes the overall community look bad, and you're the people are going to recognize. People don't know a random-ass Joe Schmo. So that's the end of the video, and I'd just like to end this off by saying this is really a cautionary tale, because every last thing that got outed about Vexium Swift, 40 minutes of content, would not be publicly known and would most definitely not be commonly known if it wasn't for Vexium himself publicizing almost all this, or creating all of this content against himself. Remember, only reason that I was brought onto this, and again, I am the reason that Fire was brought onto this, I directly led to the breakdown between his previous friend group involving Wolfgang. Only reason I was brought onto this was because Vexium himself was a schizo and posted about it in Twitter, brought all the drama into his community. It is frankly a miracle that any of this did become public, and it really just scares me because you don't know what you don't know about your favorite creators, and it really sets a standard of narcissism and just controlling and just abuse of your power when people like Vexium Swift could have gotten off, and I 100% believe Vexium would have no real public recourse, no real public call out if he just put his head down, did everything he's been doing that he should get called out for, but just didn't publicize it, didn't blow it up himself. None of this would be known. And just really think about that, because like, your favorite creator could be doing this shit, and all they have to do to avoid getting any sort of information about it being made public is not talk about it. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good one.